Welcome to the Predictive PlayBook. This is Manny's Irish Pub edition of the Predictive PlayBook, powered by SportsMemo.com and WagerTalk.com. I'm here with my two co-hosts, Tony Finn and Rob Veno. We were talking backstage a little bit about this, that, and the other thing, and Tony had the under in the Phillies-Atlanta game, and it sounded like Segura hit the top of the fence. And that saved the day.
Well, preface this, if they didn't watch the game, preface it, John, saying, listen, it went to the bottom of the eighth, 0-0, and I'm worried about catching this under, and that's what we live in. That's the new Major League Baseball. If you're playing an under in this day and age of Major League Baseball, it's not safe. There is no safe under in these extra innings games.
I'll tell you what I learned last night. You guys, you both knew I was on the under in the NBA game.
I was
Suns Nuggets, and 94 points in the first half, and
yep,
you know, I'm feeling like a rock star.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I remember, you know, the losses that I've had. Colorado Avalanche, for example, were up 2-0 over the Vegas Golden Knights. I went to sleep. I woke up and I heard the radio say, "What a dramatic comeback in overtime victory!"
Yeah.
So I've decided now that when I have a big play, I'm watching the whole thing, and as a result, I suffered last night watching that because it suddenly dawned on me with about 4.5 minutes to go, I was in trouble. Why? I'm not sure. Phoenix seemed to just want to keep playing full bore with their backups and, you know, rub it up their noses.
Yep.
I never got it, but fortunately it went under. But it it should have been a game around 200 points, and I guess it ended around 222 or 220, but it was scary.
In that situation, John, I've always been of the. I understand perfectly. There's a one of those. If you think a game is going to be a blowout or it's going to have a margin that's wide enough that that you're going to sit the starters, as opposed to the starters getting a directive to, hey, use the clock. Not four corners in essence, not a Dean Smith four corners or whatever the case may be. But there's also that line where the margin gets to a point where the backups, then you get the second and third rotations in. And here's the deal with that. There are some second and third rotations that are very capable offensively. And these guys see an average of 3, 4, 5 minutes a game the whole season. Dude, they want to get in there and fire away and put their name in the stat. And so you can't begrudge them for doing that. But that is absolutely a situation where I've been there many times, John, and said, well, you know, you thought this was pretty easy. Now the sweat's really gonna come, because all of a sudden you got, you know, Pete, 45-year-old Pete Maravich, and he can still shoot. He can't defend, and he's gonna score 20 in the 3 minutes he plays, and then let 5 guys go around him for layups. You're done if you're on the under. You know.
Mr. Veno, welcome to the show. Have you ever had any recent plays like this?
You know, to predict last night that you were going to have a blowout scenario in Game 2 would have been, you know, it'd be difficult to predict how that fourth quarter was going to play out. I'll say this. For people who had under, you would have preferred to have Chris Paul and the starters on the floor for that game, because Chris Paul will pull the ball out and he will walk it up slow. And Tony's absolutely right. Once you unload 5 guys from the bench that don't see the light of day for 3.5 weeks, they want to score. And so does the other team. The other team's in chase mode. They want to score, and that's what you get. That game survived going over the total barely. A couple of free throws here or there. Marcus Howard, with about 44 seconds left, throws up a 3 from the baseline that was really, you know, a desperation 3 with a lot of time left in the shot clock. Didn't hit anything, but had it gone in, you know, this was not one of those deals where you can sort of count the clock and subtract the 24-second clock and say, okay, there'll be this much time left on the clock, and there's only 3 possessions left. This was go, 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 go. There's 7 possessions left.
Yep.
And, in the end, what saved the day was a Phoenix turnover with about 20-something seconds left, a Phoenix turnover that Denver converted into a layup, and then there was less than 24 on the clock, and Phoenix could dribble it out. But
even that guy with the ball wanted to score. I mean, you could see he wanted to score, and somebody said, "No, that's it. That's it."
Yep.
Yeah, if Phoenix had gone down, if they didn't turn it over and they had scored, Denver would have run right up and scored again, and then it would have gone over. So, they're tough situations end of game. They're really tough situations. The 94 was an aberration for the first half because could Denver be any worse? 7%. Nobody who handicapped that game under said, you know what, I believe Denver's going to shoot 7% from 3 in the first half. Because if somebody did, they're a genius. But that's how it worked out. And in the second half, I think the second half got about 127.
127, 69 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so they're just tough. I don't think in a 5-point game you just don't expect there to be Phoenix up by 30 or whatever they were up by. It was crazy. Denver showed no heart. So it was a butt whooping. End of game. Tough end.
I'm just thankful it won. Keep the winning ways going here. Now 8-1 the last 9, and feel pretty blessed to tell you the truth.
In the world of coin flip games, you have to be on the right side of a few of those. You really
I was holding that horseshoe I have very tightly.
Mm-hmm. Squeeze your legs, John.
Because by that time I'm usually watching the games by myself, and I'm sometimes it might be surprising you guys, but sometimes I might slip with my wording. Uh-huh. But I fear only the good Lord hears it, and He's a forgiving one. So,
well, then you're in trouble if you're gonna hang around me, because there is no slipping. It's every bit intentional.
I mean, the extraditions. How many times have I been involved with that to get you back here to the country?
I know. I don't understand why you guys are just gonna leave me to rot, because I'm just fine where I'm. It's sunny. It's got a couple lobsters laying on the beach, some crab, so I'm good.
Yeah, actually, Rob Veno is the one that's done all the work.
I got the screaming monkeys down in the Mayan ruins. Sons of guns, I tell you.
Screaming monkeys.
The screaming monkey. I ever tell you a story about the
I think that's a band from the '60s that I used to listen to.
Well, yeah, no, but have I told you the story about the screaming monkeys? I thought I told you guys that story.
Yep, go ahead.
No, you don't want to hear it. Now we supposed to talk about it, but it's my buddies that went to the Yucatan, that escaped to the Yucatan. I've told you about them, right? Yep. Well, we would go down to visit those guys, and we would stay on the beach. We just string a hammock out, and we would stay on the beach, right? Well, one time we decided we were going to go look at the Mayan ruins that were down a ways, but we had, before we left, this is if you've ever seen a movie, Altered States. Have you seen that movie? It's an old movie.
Yeah. I can't remember what it was, though.
Well, it's a drug movie where it's about.
Okay.
But this is the deal. That part of the country is where you get magic mushrooms. So we had done some magic mushrooms. And into the ruins we go, right? Well, we didn't know anything about screaming monkeys. We're in the ruins, and the mushrooms are. This is a long time ago. This is 1979 or 1980. Okay, and we're walking down in there. And we're starting to have smiles on our faces, feeling pretty good. And then we hear these screams, these atrocious, blood-curdling screams, and we thought people were and we're in the ruins, We said, I looked at my buddy, he looked at me, and I said, I'm the F out of here, and back to the hammock I went, and I was there for about 6 or 8 hours. I wouldn't get out of that thing until I was afraid I didn't know what the screams were. Well, later on, we found out that these were screaming. These are the type of monkeys they have in there, and that's how they did their job. They do that to alert each other or to scare people away or try to frighten you, throw stuff at you. quite the experience. It's another good story for that will be in the book. You can buy it. It will be in the World According to Finn book soon. I don't know when it's going to come out. I don't even know who's going to publish it. Who's going to be stupid enough to do that? But we'll give it a shot.
Speaking of mushrooms that cause hallucinations,
Uh-huh.
which is what I really thought. I had a nice dinner last night. It did have mushrooms on. I was watching that total
I like mushrooms.
that total evaporate before my face, and I thought, oh my god! And then I woke up this morning, and I was like, that couldn't have happened. But look what Max on record. We can always count on Max on record. DJ Dustin Johnson off crack this week.
Oh,
Stuck it to me with Kister today. So we'll go to the
I
golf.
Yeah.
You like this, Tony. Tony, it's good for you to
I
broaden
like
your
this,
horizons.
Las Vegas Chris. He heard that DJ was on the stuff again, and he bet every single prop he could bet against DJ in the Open, not to make the cut. All those things. Well, we're sitting out in my studio, and
I remember that.
You remember? And I
was involved with that.
He said to me, hold it. He picked up 2 strokes in the final goal. He might make the cut. And he was like, and I looked at him and I said, do you have, 3 years of mortgages on DJ missing the cut? And he said, well, of course not. I said, well, then shut up. We're going to find out the results soon. I didn't say it that way, but, and if Chris had been listening, it's like, leave it alone. You guys
were you sitting with him at that time?
He was sitting right out inside. He was outside, and I think I happened to be in here, and I walked out. And that's when he started talking to me, and it was funny though.
Do you know who he was texting while you were sitting next to him?
Was it you?
It was me. Because he was telling me that I'm screwed. DJ needs one more shot, and it's 33% probability. And I actually did say to him, I thought you were pretty good with numbers. Second and fifth place in the Circa. I mean, it's not 33%. It's 1.4% chance that he makes the cut at this point. There's too many guys that would have to double bogey the last 2 holes. And then all of a sudden he says, I just refreshed my page. It says 1% chance. Good.
I tell you, good. Well, and
Love him.
He's a numbers chaser. So sometimes he has a lot of he has a lot of money scattered, and some of it's middling, and some of it's just betting numbers. Yeah, but he's always got something to follow. So, I tell him all the time that's just far too much work. Far too much work. I am one of those guys. I don't even watch. For the most part, I don't watch the games that I invest into. I will watch film or tape or watch the replay of it. Some of it I watch live if I happen to be on the patio and I have some of the degenerates from the neighborhood on the patio, yelling and screaming for a turnover or a rebound. I love these guys because they're not really rooting for the games. They got all these props and they're rooting for somebody to have a rebound or not get a rebound, or it's good stuff. It's entertaining. It's entertainment all in itself. Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I want to get to here, we mentioned this yesterday, the bullpens. And I know you guys are really good. You have 2 different ways, not 2 different ways, but 2 different kind of angles. So you're looking at the same stuff, but you're kind of looking at it from maybe the left side and the right side. But anyway, yesterday I had, and I'm not mentioning this because I had St. Louis, which, with the way they've been playing was kind of bold in its own right. But the reason I did like them was because of some of the stuff I'm learning from you guys. And the Cardinals' bullpen was at full strength yesterday, despite playing on Tuesday. The lone exception was probably Giovanni Gallegos. He threw 29 pitches on Monday.
Yeah.
2 innings of work against the Reds that was on Sunday. So it's probably unlikely he was going to pitch because all season long he's always been given 3 days minimum. All right, so they're at full strength. Then I look at Cleveland. They had both lefties kind of spent. Henkes threw 45 pitches while getting hammered for 5 earned runs. And I'm not laughing at him, but I'm laughing at that, sometimes these things don't work out.
Right.
75 earned runs, 7 hits in 1 2/3 innings of work. Entered the game to start the third, and it went horribly poor, as I said. So he wasn't available. And then the other left-hander, I never knew, and I wanted to confirm with you guys that Cleveland actually has a bullpen with only 2 left-handed relievers, because that's pretty good information right there.
Well, you'd be surprised. There's several bullpens that have that limit on left-handers, and some that surprisingly have too many, in my opinion. But you're right. Yeah, it's always good information.
Yeah. So, Kyle Nelson was the other lefty. He threw 28 pitches on Monday, and he's never thrown with just 1 day of rest in over a month. So then I started thinking, what is the Cardinals lineup? There was I don't believe in that. At one time in my life, especially when I coached baseball, I did believe in that righty-lefty situation, especially in playoff situations. Especially the lefty-lefty. I always thought the lefty against a lefty batter was the better of the two. It just seemed like they had a much better advantage. Like you throw, a breaking pitch, you're basically aiming, at the backside of the left-handed batter, and then it breaks across the plate. And sometimes they bail, sometimes they don't, but it's really hard pitch to hit and barrel up. So, based on this situation, do you see these type of games, and do you put a lot of how much weight do you put into them?
Go, Rob.
Well, I'll say this. 2 things. First off, it's not unusual whatsoever to see bullpens without 2 lefties. That's probably more commonplace than it is the norm in today's MLB. You have to almost kind of go to splits, because these teams will use right-handed pitchers as left-handed pitchers because they're able to get the lefties out the way you would think lefties should get lefties out. So it depends who's in the bullpen and what their pitches are. For me, it's really this simple. When I grade them to start the year, I'm looking for 4 good arms. You got to have 4, in my estimation, to be a good bullpen. And very few bullpens have 4 good arms. That's why there's not many good bullpens in the league. And then I'm a pitch count guy. I could care less how many innings you've thrown. But I do use the number 20, around 23 to 25 as a basis for a pretty high workload for one night. And then if I see guys come on back-to-backs, pitch back-to-back, 23, 21 the next night, third night I'll avoid them. First of all, they're probably unavailable. Second night, if the manager's bold enough to put them in, they're probably not going to be as effective. So I don't know that I'm looking for teams that don't have a certain type of arm available, a left-handed arm available, because to me, the 3-batter minimum took all of that out of the equation now. You got to bring a guy in for 3. You can't do, Tony La Russa was, I've been doing this a while, but to the best of my memory, Tony La Russa was the first guy to severely micromanage a bullpen. Up, trip to the mound, put a new guy in. Up, trip to the mound, put a new guy in. Up, trip to the mound, in the middle of a count, put a new guy in. And he kind of started that ball rolling. So the 3-batter minimum, to me, really, it forces a manager's hand. Do you really want to bring in a lefty when the next 2 batters are right-handed?
Right.
Just to face that one lefty? It's not really a question in my mind anymore of seeing how many left arms are available in the bullpen. It's really, for me, it's based on pitch count, availability, effectiveness. If you've gone back to back, I'll also use 3 and 4 days. If they've gone 3 and 4 days and 2 are back to back, then you really don't want them. If they've gone 3 and 4 days and it was back to back, open, then pitch, and you're looking at 4 and 5, you're probably going to want to add up those pitches. Some innings are easier than others, and to me, they're described by pitch counts. If you get out of an inning in 7 pitches rather than 20 pitches, it's a heck of a lot easier. You can come back the next day. So that's really where I'm at, John. I'm looking for the available guys that are live arms. All 7 guys in the bullpen don't matter to me. I'm never looking at overall bullpen statistics. What's the team bullpen ERA? Who cares? Because the back end of that bullpen, the middle guys probably stink out loud and skew the numbers. But you want to kind of know who the good arms are in the bullpen and know what their pitch counts are and how often they've thrown. And that's pretty much how I sum it up. Maybe it was a little more effective years ago. Not even that far ago. I don't even want to say years ago. Recent memory, it was still effective. This year, I do, real quick, guys, I do a segment with Teddy every single year on bullpens where he'll ask me, Rob, who's the 3 best bullpens? Which ones you looking at? I couldn't come up with 3 that I thought were A-plus bullpens to start the season. So that kind of shows you where you're at. But that's what you're looking for, at least in my mind. You're looking for pitch count. You're looking for amount of work and how heavy those pitch counts were, and are the best arms unavailable. Because if the crappy arms have thrown back-to-back, who cares? You still have your best guys ready to go for this game. So that's how I look at it. Tone, I don't know, agree, disagree, fall in that boat, whatever.
No, I would never – first, I'm not going to tell anybody how they should be managing their handicapping and how much weight they should put on certain variables. I would never do that. But for me, I will say this. You said that Tony La Russa was one of the first 2 that you believe to be a micromanager of a bullpen. I don't want to micromanage my process in baseball and give any final say to a bullpen, because according to my math, these guys are still professional baseball players, and sometimes even the weakest. Now it changes from year to year, and it changes like anything, and everything runs in cycles. But I don't want to talk myself out of a winner, because I think maybe this gets to this part of the bullpen, and I might my play or my investment might be in jeopardy. Then I feel like I've gone a step too far. Now I do manage bullpens, but I simplify it to the degree with this. I want to know who's available. If Raleigh Fingers isn't going to be available tonight, then maybe I don't want to back the A's. Maybe if I think it's going to be a close game and I'm going to need Raleigh, or maybe Goose Gossage has pitched three straight nights, and in this environment, guys, 3 straight nights out of the bullpen will typically mean that you're not going to be available. You're just not going to be available. And even sometimes for some pitchers, depends on the pitcher. Sometimes 2 nights in a row. So it's individualized, and each one's different. And those are the kind of things that I rarely share with anybody. I don't put up my write-ups because I don't even have charts. I just know. I just can read a box score. I read all the box scores every morning or every night. I read them all. I know who's pitched, who hasn't pitched, and I know who's going to be available, who's not going to be available. At least in my orbit, I know because I just know. And am I wrong sometimes? Yes, of course I am. Am I right most of the time? I'm right most of the time. I know because it's there's a history, and we know how many times Joe Madden's going to let Joe Blow go to the mound. And Rob, you said something about pitch count as opposed to innings. Mm-hmm. For me, it's more for me when a reliever, especially a short reliever, a closer, not a long reliever, warms up and then takes the mound. That's an appearance. And whether they've pitched thrown 10 pitches or 40, for some managers and for some pitchers, that's irrelevant because that warm-up process, et cetera, is sometimes managers even consider if a guy's warmed up 3 times during a game because they've almost pulled the starter or they've almost decided to use him, sometimes that 3 times in the bullpen, standing up and warming up, is almost an appearance.
Yeah, and unless you're betting in game,
That's right.
you have you can't handicap that how many
That's
times
correct.
a guy is going to get up
That's correct.
and warm up. And if you throw 23 pitches but you throw 15 warming up, then that's a 38 pitch appearance, even
That's
more
right.
stress on your arm, right? I'll break it down real simple to what Tony said about not wanting to talk off a play, but maybe ensure a play. If you want to, I'm going to go to Milwaukee, guys, real quick. Say you like Adrian Hauser, the third starter on the Milwaukee team, or the fourth starter, and you think the pitching matchup is okay, but Adrian Hauser is about a 5 or 6 inning guy at best, but that at the back end, Devin Williams and Josh Hader are available tonight. They didn't pitch the night before; they're good to go. I'm more apt at least to play Adrian Hauser because I know the back end I can lock up. You're looking to lock up 8 and 9, set up a bridge to closer, even 7, 8, 9, set up the bridge to closer in that respect. So certainly it probably helps you more. In my estimation, it probably helps you more to like a play a little bit more rather than talk you off. But I have had instances where, I got a guy running out there and I know he's not going to get me more than 5 or 6. And I see the top 3 arms probably aren't going to be available. I'm probably not making that play, or I'm reducing it down to a 5-inning play because I'm scared to death of 7, 8, and 9. You know what I mean? So that's some of the thought process, John.
And if you flip the script on that, on that too, and you like the other team, then you're probably likely to jump them because guess what? You just described a scenario that is favorable for, which is probably going to be the underdog.
Yep, I agree. You can't make bets just based on the bullpen, but it can be, I guess, potentially what you guys were just saying is a deciding factor to go with it. Yeah, so in my case, with leaning, very heavily on St. Louis, it was a 4-unit play. And again, I'm not mentioning it because it won, because I actually had a 3-pack and the other 2 lost. But in that situation, that was the deciding last part of my handicap.
John,
yes,
I'm
sir.
glad you brought that up. And Rob, I don't do it near as much as I used to. I used to do it a lot more than I do now, and that is I weighted umpires much heavier than I weighted bullpens. Why? Because before K-Zone, before they computerized everything and the umpires were graded on that system, the umpires could take a guy with a I'm serious. I'm not just saying this to here's the deal. A guy had a 3.5 ERA. There are certain umpires that made that guy a 4.2 simply because it was a bad fit. It was a left-hander that threw junk, and the umpire didn't give the black in the first place, and does a poor job of grading pitches that many would consider a borderline pitch. Maybe it's got a 3 or 4 inch swivel on that slow curve that one umpire never calls it a strike, and another umpire calls it a strike every time. So if that makes sense to you, I used to grade umpires when they weren't graded by that K-Zone. I would grade them much higher than I would grade bullpen because they had a bigger part in the game than the bullpen. There you go.
Make one last point, John. I'll make one last point on this. Just to show you how situational our handicaps are and how strategic managers have to be and how they manage their bullpens. If you have a bullpen and you're playing the Chicago White Sox or the Houston Astros, basically your left-handed pitchers in that bullpen are eliminated from appearance because they just crush left. What manager is going to bring a lefty in to face the Astros lineup late unless that lefty has a really good history of getting out right-handed batters? I
couldn't agree with you more. Very good point, Rob, because I curse those managers, and there have been a few that, why would you have a choice. Why would you even start a left-hander against the White Sox? Why would you? If you had a choice to give him an extra day's rest, there's going to be 6 days between starters because you had an off day. Man, I'm moving my right-hander into that slot where the left-hander is. He's going to pitch on regular rest, and my lefty is going to get 2 days extra rest. He's not.
Well, especially if it's the last game of a series.
Well,
the last game of the series and your lefty's supposed to go, I can definitely see that. But there is part of me with the JR value, the P value, where these trends like the White Sox, that hasn't continued really. It was what, 22, 21 and 3.
Well, that was.
And now we've been 500.
Here's the deal. They're now the second best offense against left-handers. Who's the first now?
Orioles.
Houston. Well, Orioles, Houston. Right. The Orioles. No, the Orioles did jump up there. And I found that surprising, guys. So what I did was I dug deeper, and I said, well, they must not have a very big sample size. They have a fine sample size. How does a team – there's a dichotomy that is ridiculous. There's a difference that's different. It's ridiculous. This Baltimore team can't hit their way out of a wet paper bag against right-handers, and they're hitting left-handers at that rate. That's going to change too. I'm quite convinced that I wouldn't jump the Orioles against the left-hander now. It would come into play, but I found that surprising that you mentioned that, and you're right, John. It was, but Houston's climbed up too against left-handers. They've been pretty good against left-handers, but they've climbed up the top two or close to it.
I can tell you one guy that it's a personal thing, but my son played college baseball, not for the same team as Chaz McCormick, who is an outfielder for the Houston Astros. But I can tell you he loves to hit left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
And if you ever see one of his videos with a swing, they list him at 6'2", 208. But the one home run, the announcers even said he gets every single thing out of his swing. Like his back knee almost hits the ground.
Yeah.
So, it's another group of outfielders. Like Houston's outfielders just don't hit. But because of my interest there, I do track their batting averages, which means nothing really in this modern day. But that group of 4 outfielders is trending up in terms of their hitting. And knowing that with the way Houston's playing right now makes them even more dangerous, I think, going forward, especially against a left-handed starter.
Yeah.
And
well, there's been a pretty big change. There's been over the last 15 or 30 days. I was surprised. Like I said, some of the teams that have moved offensively, how far they've moved, John. It's something that needs to be tracked. And there are certain guys who like left-handers, like to hit left-handed pitching. When you get a group of guys that like to hit left-handers and have done what the White Sox did, as you mentioned, the third 23-2 or whatever the case was, it's something you can't ignore. If you ignore it, then I'm guessing that you're ignoring some other things that probably need to have your attention.
Let me go ahead and give you something, Tony, Finn,
sure,
and John, that just came to my mind because we're talking about Houston. And Tony, for the last couple of days, the last week, you've been saying Houston puts the bat on the baseball, right? The
yes,
difference
they do.
Between them and Latte, they put the bat on the baseball. I saw an interview with Carlos Correa.
Yeah.
Who said that 2 months ago, we're sitting at June 10th, so you're talking about April 10th.
Right.
The hitting instructor, and normally these batting coaches, these hitting instructors don't interfere with these guys unless they're asked. They're not really going to just run up to somebody and tell them what to do. But they came up to Carlos Correa with a suggestion of a change in mechanics at the plate. Mm-hmm. And Correa said, I was all in, I bought in, and his numbers as far as contact and average and on-base percentage and OPS have gone he looks like the hitter of a few years ago when they claimed they were cheating, right? So Carlos Correa is a good example of, and Houston, this is why it reminded me of you, Tony, because you were saying they put the bat on the baseball, and that was basically the suggestion. They wanted him to change something with the shoulder, the front shoulder, to make more contact.
Keep it close.
Sure enough, it's improved all of his numbers. So lucky Correa was willing to buy in. A lot of these major leaguers are too thick-headed to buy into anything that's suggested to them. They want to do it on their own or do their thing.
Right.
But I think philosophically, from that interview, I would say that Houston's going that route. Let's make contact. Let's not worry about launch angle and getting it over the fence. And, the numbers are what the numbers are. They've been dominant against lefties for a while, but they're really dominant right now.
They sure are.
Yeah, they are. I want to throw something in too here and I don't have I'm going to throw it to you guys, and whoever's listening, whoever's in the audience may want to dig into this.
Pretty many right now.
Okay.
There's pretty many, yeah.
Well, good. Then maybe I'll make a difference. Somebody that does a lot of self-handicapping. For the most part, there's three kinds of balls, or three kinds of at bats. The majority of the at bats right now are what, guys? They are home runs, strikeouts, and walks.
Right.
Those are the three majority of at bats. Okay. Now, runs are down this year, and that's the drama that is the cloud hanging over Major League Baseball right now. That why is this? Why is exit velocity the same, yet the ball's not traveling as far or not getting as many runs? Here's the deal: home runs. The majority of runs scored in Major League Baseball right now come via a home run. That's the majority. It's not from singles or walks or doubles. Home runs. That and some of that makes sense, obviously, because home runs clear the bases and you score a run on home run. But my point is this: there are certain teams, the elite teams are not the teams that live and die off a home run. I want you to look at some, and I'll look it up. I had a guy, we talked about it. He was doing some work for me. But Chicago White Sox, for instance, if you look at the Chicago White Sox, I'm looking at their numbers, their slash line right now. Okay, they're slashing as a team this season, slashing 253, 340, 406. That 340 is impressive. That's pretty damn impressive, guys. Do you not agree with that? That on base percentage?
As a team, yes. That's a pretty good number as a team.
Okay, so 253, 340, 406. 746 is their OPS, which ranks fifth in Major League Baseball coming into today. Now, home runs this year. Home runs, they have almost 2,000 at bats. Okay, on at bats this year, they rank. I'm going to give you exact numbers too. Of the 30 Major League teams, White Sox have rank 25th in total at bats. Okay. Now, in total at bats, in home runs, they have hit 60. I think is about right in that area. Let me see. And they rank in home runs. They rank 23rd at 61 home runs. Okay, 61 home runs. They rank right there behind Arizona and in front of Washington Nationals in home runs. Now, how about in runs scored? In runs scored, you would typically listen. There's only a few clubs who scored the most runs this year. Houston. They've hit 11 more home runs than Chicago. However, they have 200 more at bats than Chicago. But my point is this: is that if you look at runs scored, and right now it's Houston, you can look down at Chicago White Sox, who have scored the fifth most runs, and the difference is who they're behind in runs scored. The Red Sox have hit 14 more home runs than the White Sox. The team behind the White Sox in runs scored, San Francisco, have hit 90 home runs. There are this is the elite teams. These are elite teams that do not have to depend on home runs to score runs. So I promise you that at the end of the season, if you look right now, you'll see the White Sox. They're that one that sticks out. If you go to MLB.com and you punch the home runs, and you'll see who has the most on the season. You'll see 72, 76, 76, 75. This is for runs scored, I should say. They have 72, 76, 76, 75 home runs. And then all of a sudden you see the White Sox, 61 home runs. And then the team below them, 90, 83, 80, 90. Teams that can score runs with home runs is great. Teams that can score runs with home runs and other ways, which is situational hitting. These are the teams that are going to be successful in July, August, and September, in my opinion. And it makes a difference.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I just wish they'd get rid of the launch angle, and maybe that's I would be interested to know what what was the name of the batter that took the constructive criticism and worked on it, and now his numbers are really
Correa?
good. Yeah,
Correa?
Carlos Correa.
Yeah.
yeah. I'd be interested
Correa
to
still,
know.
interrupt you, John. Correa still talks about this. In 2015, the Royals won the World Series, and many of them thanked Correa because in Game 3, I can't remember what game it was, but he had a short, just a normal hop, routine ground ball that he muffed, and the Royals went on to win that series against Houston because of many people said because of that error, and that was when he was a rookie. I think he was a rookie or a young player. Mm-hmm. But he talked about how he admired the Royals. Why did he admire them? Because they didn't hit home runs. They didn't care about launching. They put the ball in play and put pressure on defenses and made you make a play, much like I play unders, because you got to beat me. Well, the Royals put the balls in play and manufactured runs. And like Rob mentioned bullpens earlier, if you got to the sixth inning and you were behind the Royals, you were done. You had Herrera. You had Davis, and then at the back end of that bullpen, the seventh, eighth, and ninth innings were a absolute mortal lock for the Royals because of those three guys. At that time in 2015, all three of them throwing around 100 miles an hour, which at that time was more of an aberration than it is now. But you're right, John. It's launch angle mean nothing to the Royals then, and they won a World Series. You can win World Series without launch angles, but man, these managers. So there's some managers that are infatuated and attached to these metrics, some of them, which I can't quite comprehend, as much as you don't like them even. So,
17 degrees, man.
Yeah.
The Astros,
yeah,
because of Carlos Correa's numbers, are going to have deeper pockets now. Because those four shortstops, Corey Seager, Trevor Story, Carlos Correa, and who am I missing, Tone? But those four are free agents this year. And Correa's going to want to get paid off of these numbers, and he's going to get paid off of these numbers. Houston, it's nice to have your guys hitting, but they know it's going to cost them.
Whatever happened to Freddie Patek? Whatever happened to a shortstop that he could hit? He had the best warning track percentage in Major League Baseball. Freddie Patek then. Shortstops weren't supposed to hit the home runs that they hit nowadays. This game has changed so much; it's silly, isn't it?
Yeah, late 70s. I remember when Robin Yount came up as a shortstop.
Yeah.
Robin Yount was a big deal because he could hit home runs as a shortstop, which was basically unheard of back then. Your shortstops were there for defense. Mark Belanger, Gene Michael, all these guys who could play slick fielders. And all of a sudden, Robin Yount came along, and it sort of started. Cal Ripken Jr. probably changed the position for good. Tall guys.
Who changed second base?
First tall guy.
Who changed second base?
Yeah.
Chase Utley.
No.
Joe Morgan?
No. Well, Joe Morgan would be even before. I'm talking
Ryan Sandberg?
Yeah, Sandberg, I think, in my opinion. Yeah. That's at least in my. I'm an old guy, so Sandberg though. He, that's when second base. Hell, it's everybody now. It doesn't matter what position you play. You better be able to hit a home run.
Yeah. Joe Morgan could hit him.
Yes, he could. Cookie Rojas couldn't. Freddie Patek.
No. Horace Clark couldn't. There's a lot of people who couldn't.
No.
Yeah. But
I'm going to do I put down a note, and I have launch angle in my database, so I'm going to tell you tomorrow.
We're going to get some therapy. No, we're going to get you therapy on this launch angle thing.
Well, this is going to make me avoid
free.
therapy.
It's a gift from Rob and I. We're going to get you well and get you over and past this launch angle stuff.
Well, if I start shaking on the show someday, then I'll take you up on it.
We have answers for that. They have medication for that, so don't worry about that. We're just worried about the launch angles.
But, this is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I am willing to bet. I would bet more than I usually do on Ben Simmons having a triple-double. I'm so bold on this statement that the average launch angle of those hitters on Houston is by far the most optimal of any team in the majors, and that's why they're hitting the way they're hitting.
Well,
period.
Well, they're also pitching the way they're pitching because, and you think about the pitchers they've lost in the last 3 years. Think about that. The pitchers they have lost, and and they now, I think, over the last month have the best ERA, or at least close to it. And it all starts with coaching. I've always thought they could turn willy-nilly into a guy that throws strikes. So,
one simple question for you guys.
Okay.
I used to say this to the teams, especially the older teams, that they have aspirations to get into college baseball. Yeah. Do you want your baseball bat to be in the strike zone longer and therefore more capable of at least fouling off a changeup that you were completely fooled on? Mm-hmm. Or do you want to look like you swung out of your shoes and basically fall to the ground because you didn't make contact because you were trying to hit it into the next state?
Well, I'll tell you what the answer would be. The simple answer is this, John. Most guys would say, what's going to pay me the most?
But you wait and see with Carrera, though. You guys got me thinking, especially Rob Veno when he said that with the contracts. I bet you that you're going to see a sea change going on here, that you would rather sign a guy for $200 million or $150 million that is capable of batting 300 and is also capable of hitting 25 home runs, as opposed to striking out with the bases loaded and hitting 50 home runs with a 208 batting average.
There's plenty of Hall of Famers, John. You're right. There's plenty of Hall of Famers that are Hall of Famers now, okay, that didn't even average 15 home runs a year. And 15 home runs a year now is a guy's on the bench as a pinch hitter.
It's true.
Listen, a two-strike swing used to be a part of hitting, used to be part of being a hitter, your two-strike swing. Unless you were, I don't know, Don Baylor or, some giant who just hits home runs, right? Dave Kingman had no two-strike swing. But it used to be part of the game. Shorten up and make contact with the ball. Foul it off until you get a pitch that you want. Two-strike swing doesn't exist. And the two-strike swing is the same as every other swing.
No more Charlie Lau. Charlie Lau wouldn't even be a coach, a hitting coach, I don't think, in our current environment. I'm not certain he would be. Not at the major league level.
Charlie Lau's swing was great for what he used to call the little window. The little window was first pitch, second pitch. You're looking for that middle in as a right-hander. And, in that little window, you swing and you kill it. But you're right. At two strikes, and I learned this from another, guy in New Jersey where the Tri-State Arsenal played and had all those great baseball teams that, won so many national championships. And that's where Mike Trout came out of. Yep. And if he's listening, I bet you if he came in the chat room, he would say I'm right. Two strikes, you choke up on the bat an inch or two, which nowadays that's coward. You're being a wimp. And you crowd the plate. Yep. And that's what nobody does anymore. I mean, what did you used to see Pete Rose do with two strikes?
Well, yeah, that's
he'd choke up.
It's not coming back, is it? It's not going to come back. We'll be on to something else 10 years from now. Maybe it'll be, I don't know what it would be. Maybe it'll be something. It'll be something. We never imagined that we were going to. I never imagined when I played this game, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, that launch angles mattered. I here's what mattered.
I won't be able to eat dinner tonight.
Here's what mattered. And what mattered was that I got to play baseball. That's all. That I got to be in the batter's box or in the field. I got to play. It's the only thing that mattered. And it was competitive. It was pretty competitive. So you better practice and you better pay attention, or you weren't going to play, and that's really all that matters. So, yeah,
I think we ought to. Everybody in the chat room should watch Bull Durham and learn from that legendary coach that you catch the ball, you hit the ball, and you feel the ball. There's no launch angle in those instructions. All right, so let's go to the NBA.
All right,
we got to show this. Don't you love it? I mean, all the colors and everything. I have a great artist, or a graphics artist, or something.
Tony loves colors.
Well, I was. It depends on what kind of bikini. The color should depend on
Yeah. Now, was this on the NBA Wager Talk NBA tip-off show?
I missed the show today. I had a 10:30. I had an appointment, and my wife drove me, and we had a little for the second time in a couple weeks. Somebody rear-ended her, and so I missed.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm kind of feeling like I need a narcotic. My back's kind of hurt a little bit here. I'm stiff, whiplash, and
I don't
I'm
know
trying
what
to
it's
bring-
like in Vegas, but Rob Veno will agree with me. I was on the Turnpike, the East-West Turnpike in Pennsylvania. The speed limit is 70.
Yeah.
They should immediately raise it to 90 because I was going 85
Yeah,
and I was getting past like I was an
Yeah,
old man
no.
driving too slow. People were flashing their lights that I should move over.
They should no, they should give you an eye test and another driving test. You shouldn't have a license.
I'll just tell the cop the launch angle was bad.
Yeah, yeah. You mean you're talking about the Evil Knievel launch angle?
Well, that's what I'll just tell him, and then he'll just look at me and let me go. Because senile and doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't even realize
So what
he's
do we got
driving.
today? And another one. I can't even listen. I can't put all these.
That's a first, Tony. That's the first time you ever put me back on the rails. I commend that. It's pretty damn funny. But anyway,
I don't
NBA
get
angle
it.
of the day.
Okay. I think, you know what?
Did Joe
Listen, I want
Ranieri
you to
get
change
this?
it. I want you to change this. I remember I missed the show, but I would like you to change the name.
Yeah, but
of
Rob
this.
Veno was on it, I think.
Yeah, you should have been.
Yes, Ski and
Thursday.
I were there. Yep.
And Ski didn't have any problem with it, or he did?
No, Ski liked it because he's got a problem with the Bucks, not necessarily the angle. He's just got a problem with the Bucks. So
The Bucks in Staples Center.
anything that says Nets, he's if it's anti-Bucks, he's down with that right now.
Well, we're gonna.
But will you
we're
change
gonna-
the name of this? I want you to name this the. Do you do this for MLB at all?
I do.
Well, then it should be called the MLB betting launch angle requirements.
Yeah, see, I have ones like this from a few days ago.
Yeah, but there's no launch in there between. betting and
I could put that in there.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm suggesting it because I think that would be, that'd be good therapy for you.
Thank
See
you.
that launch
I know I have friends on this team of three. No question. Always looking out for me. So we're going to bet on underdogs in a matchup of winning record teams. Mm-hmm. That's satisfied. And the favorite is coming off a humiliating defeat of 20 or more points as a favorite. And that's the key word, as a favorite.
Well,
22 and 6.
you mean installed as an opening favorite? Because what you have here is and the favorite is coming off a loss
Right.
of 20 points, defeated, installed as a favorite. So, is that redundant? Or
Well,
is that two different things?
Think
Okay,
about
go
it.
ahead then.
And the favorite, meaning that's current, that's present tense,
Okay,
is
I see.
coming off a
Okay.
humiliating
Gotcha.
20-point defeat as a favorite in that game.
Well, hold on. Were they a favorite in the game?
They ended a closed favorite at -1.5, -2.
Okay, very good. Because
Harden was out.
okay, all right. That's funny you said that because I was on the Nets, but I don't remember them checking in as a closing favorite. Then I didn't pay attention to that. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I really
Yeah,
didn't.
closing. If you want to check it, go ahead and check it because my database
I
has it
believe
as
you.
-2 actually.
I believe you.
So 22 and 6 is this situation for 79% winning bets over the last 5 seasons, including playoffs. And then I went as to so far to explain why I'm only using a short time period. And you both know, because you heard it from me a long time now. In 2017, the league averaged 106 points per game. Then we went up 5 points to 111.5. And the last 3 years, plus this one, we've averaged right around the same number. This year was a record at 112.2.
Yeah.
So that's why I added the 3
It's-
seasons because that adds more value to it.
Yeah. We have to. It's soon going to be an issue in NBA too. You know, all the scoring. We're going to be calling Blitnikoff and asking him to be the guy who judges balls and substances that basketball players are using for more revolution.
Well, believe me, you know how my mind works. And I was sitting there.
No, I like it. Let's go on.
I was watching my under potentially blow up on me, and I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create a new couple of columns, and when there's no starter in the game and the team's winning by more than 20 points in the fourth quarter, I'm betting the over in the live in-game betting.
Yeah.
Because I could have done that. I actually was thinking about it, and I was like, nope, the bet's under. The bet is under. Be disciplined, John. But I actually saw, 201. And I thought, you know what? I ought to try to middle this. And then I resisted the temptation. So, of course, in hindsight, that would have been a pretty smart idea, because then I wouldn't have been sweating it out, because I realized that, all right, well, I'm going to lose the VIG, and that's it if it goes over. But those two teams, I think, in-game, if you ever see it again, which we probably won't, anything under 200, I think that's automatic betting the over. But the rest of the series, we probably won't see it. So that's my NBA. And then, tonight's game, we had a game where the closing lines were both push on the line and the total in game one of Utah and the Clippers. Yeah. Which is really super rare. So all those guys that like to play teasers are really feeling good about themselves. But I know you three would agree with me. Teasers, that's why they're called that. And I flat out say, do not do that. Do not do that.
There's three of us? He said you three. Maybe you said us three. But
yeah,
I thought that I wanted to give you trouble. But here, teasers? Who teases? No, a lot of people tease nowadays, but teasers were also, do people understand that they named that wager a teaser for a reason?
Well, what is the reason? Tell us. There has to be a story behind this. Who was the first guy that said, let's call this a teaser?
That I can't. I wish I knew. In fact, now you've really screwed me up for the day, because I'm certain I'm going to spend an hour trying to discover this, and when I could be doing something else, because that's what I do. Easy to get me off track. But here's the deal. A teaser is I want to use a proper example, and that would be, the most beautiful girl at your school is looking out her bedroom window. You walk by, and she doesn't have any clothes on. She has no clothes on. And the sign says, come see me. Come to the front door. I'll meet you there. And you go to the front door, and it's her mom. And so that's a tease. And it's not real. And it doesn't pay off in the long run. So there you go. Is that a good example? Rob, please tell me that was a good example.
We struggled through it. I don't know what it has to do with a casino.
If it was her grandmother. Grandmother would have been better.
I could have thrown in the.
I guess they would have called that a shocker.
You remember the old lady cartoon in Playboy with where gravity had set in like 20 times more than most people. Am I right? You know what I'm talking about. You both know what I'm talking about. Because our dads had some of the original 50s and 60s Playboys. I got a couple of those still. Are they worth anything?
I was protected.
They could be.
You were protected?
I lived a very protected life. Yep.
Well, then
National Geographic.
Well, that was a Playboy to you. That's some guys like those. That's what you have.
Just as bad.
And I read them. I read all the articles.
Oh yeah, I read all the articles in Playboy too.
Yep.
All the cartoons, everything. I read them all.
That scene in Major League always comes to mind with Rue, the catcher in Major League 2.
Bad movie, Major League 2.
I'd rather see that in Major League Baseball than Launch Angle. I'll tell you that.
But so tonight your angle is the Nets.
The Nets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like the Nets. I mean, here's the deal. I like the Nets. I have to have more. I'd have to have more than what I've seen from Milwaukee. We talked about one of the shows last week about I just don't think they have someone to put at the point that if it comes down to needing someone to handle the ball, execute a play. Milwaukee's one of the teams that are left in the playoffs that I probably wouldn't put my mortgage on. That's just me.
I tried to find this out. You guys would know, and I'm glad I remembered it. Did Kevin Durant in his early career ever come off the bench as a sixth man?
Never.
Okay.
Not even in Texas. He never even went to the bench when he played for. He was a 40 minutes of play. Yeah.
I was just curious because we did that one study, an empirical study where the Nets are actually better when all three of them are not on the floor at the same time. So
that makes
I'm
sense.
sorry with the egos and everything. I think Durant would be the only one that would, agree to come off the bench as the sixth man. But I stand by that report that we looked at, and Harden was the guy that, of the three different combinations you can make with those three players playing two at a time, he was kind of the odd man out. And Harden and Kyrie played better together than all three of them. Harden and Durant played better than with all three of them. So, if I was the coach, that's one of our segments.
Yeah.
I know it's
Kyrie
impossible. They get too much money. They would have a fit. And what do you mean I'm not starting?
Well, those kind of egos are very difficult to deal with. Yeah. But I was going to say Kyrie and Westbrook. See, they're similar in so many ways as a player, as a person, as a personality. Kyrie they are. Westbrook, they're kind of aberrations or considered divas. Would you not agree with that?
Yes.
Absolutely. But I'd still trust Kyrie, which may sound surprising. I still trust Kyrie more than I trust Westbrook to make basketball decisions or game decisions. I like Westbrook's an incredible athlete, an incredible player, but he's so sloppy. He's so reckless that his turnover ratio, his assist turn ratio, is never going to be something coaches ask you to emulate. That's for certain.
Well, look at let's bring the slide up again because I didn't mention this blue area over here.
Which one?
To the right. The betting lines of Milwaukee favored by 3.5 and 234 imply a 119-115 Milwaukee win. And my models do project a very high probability the Nets will score at least 115 points. I think that's quite reasonable. And they will have the better assist-to-turnover ratio. So in past games as a road dog, the Nets, meeting these performance measures, has earned a perfect 12-0 against their record over the last two seasons.
It's impressive. That's impressive.
So when you watch the game...
you see, John, these are trends that I would give that I'd give you a nickel for. Okay, especially if you throw in anything that's against the spread oriented or odds maker oriented trends. Those are the trends that I pay attention to. And why do I do that? Because it's amazing how odds makers, bookmakers, and how the public is the public, whether it's 1999 or whether it's 2021, and how the bookmakers set numbers based on certain criteria. And for most part, those trends, and we can go back. You can go back as far as you want. They apply. They apply to what happens tonight, much more so than George Carlin is 20-0 on Monday nights. With women he hits on. Those kind of things don't. I'm not listening to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. Maybe I'll listen to right. Series openers or maybe series closer. But when you're starting to break that trends, but I like those trends. Those trends are the kinds that I would give you a nickel for. Absolutely.
Yeah. And they're somewhat predictive because they help me a lot in the in-game bets. So if let's say I really like Brooklyn, and all of a sudden I look at the box scores, which I always have in front of me, and that assisted turnover ratio is not good, and it's not anywhere close to Milwaukee, and it's a tie game, I'm not betting Brooklyn at that point. Even if they're on pace to score 130, I'm not doing it. It has to be both of those working together. And if the game flow is apparent that it's going to be tough for Milwaukee to offset that, especially the assist-to-turnover ratio advantage, then I'm on Brooklyn. But if not, then I'm not.
Yeah,
it's all dependent on how that game goes. So as a final thoughts and round the horn here, we only have round the horn. We don't even have home plate. We got first, second, and third base tonight. But tomorrow we'll have quite a few.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, but we'll have quite a few. They still need to be confirmed. But
what's that?
With the guests coming in.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I know of several, but I don't want to mention the names now, not because I'm trying to hide it or be coy. We just want to confirm it. But going forward for the chat room, I mean, there's going to be a schedule that you can look at every single week. You're going to be able to see who's coming on, when they're coming on. And I think it's going to help, especially the chat room people that are so loyal to us, be able to plan.
Yeah.
It's hard to listen to a show for an hour after you've been working. Yeah. Well, we could do that.
Free beer tomorrow. Everybody,
I'm sure Johnny would definitely pay for it, I think.
Well, it's free beer tomorrow. Every day from here on out, we're going to have free beer tomorrow on this show. I'll have the neon sign blinking behind me. Here's when I was a kid in the neighborhood, that sign hung up, and it was a great sign. I love that sign because every day somebody would go in and tell the bartender, well, I'm here for that free beer. And he'd say, yeah, we got free beer tomorrow. So here we go. Free beer tomorrow.
This was funny. I got to tell this, and it might sound dumb, but we were driving one day and we saw a sign on the side of the road. It said free eggs.
Yeah.
Right? Free eggs.
Yeah.
In the country, tomorrow? Right? Well, it wasn't free eggs. It was the hens were free to roam around, and that the eggs were quite expensive. But the sign did say free eggs. Oh, so they were free.
So I don't get it. I missed something.
Out in Vegas, you've heard of free range chickens, right?
No.
Yeah, they're not. They're allowed to go. They're not.
They're not penned.
They're not in a pen.
Okay.
So they're allowed to roam wherever they want to go. That's free roaming hens.
They don't have a curfew.
I don't think anything, Tony.
Okay. They can't get arrested for
no antibiotics.
Oh, okay. I'm here. I'm listening. Go ahead.
So when you go to the grocery store, and you have grocery stores in Vegas, right?
Right. We do. It's a third world country here, so you have to box your own sometimes.
Well, I know you claim that you had a farmer's market, which is just amazing at 110-degree heat.
Yeah. It's cactus-fed beef and cactus-fed chickens.
Well, this is free-range chickens.
Okay.
And supposedly the eggs are better for you. But the sign on the road said free eggs. And that was clever because it got everybody to, pull over and look.
Yeah, I still don't get it, but it's clever. Free eggs. I don't understand. Is there a woman and is there a bunch of people named Eggs and you're trying to free them all? I don't get it.
It was one of those road stands. Rob Veno can describe it better than me. In New Jersey, they have all kinds of farmers stands on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Because New Jersey produce is really good when it's right out of the field.
Right.
But these chickens are special chickens, and they supposedly lay the best eggs.
Free. Those chickens are called free. So we have
free range, free range organic eggs.
Gotcha. Yeah. I see now. I get it now. I'm not the sharpest tool. I'm a tool, but I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. So thank you for.
Ski was just backstage.
Well, he probably heard something about free eggs, and he ran, and he's on his way to Jersey.
All right, so Tony, do you mind going first, and then Rob, and then me, and then we'll see if Ski comes in and
we're gonna
offers up something?
Free plays? I'll tell you what I'll do real quickly. I'm going to keep this. How about if I keep this fairly short?
Okay.
Although that's going to be really difficult for me. 2 reasons why is I'm looking for my notes right now, so I'm trying to talk and get through this here. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to mention a couple things. It's really difficult for me to stand in front of Utah, the Jazz. Not so much because of who the Jazz are or who they've been. It's hard for me to stand in front of the Jazz because of who I believe the Clippers are right now. And we talked about the Clippers when they lost the first 2 to Dallas, how and Rob and I, we probably misspoke when we said Los Angeles has nothing. They have no answers for Luka. Well, they have answers. I don't think Lou did a very good job of adjustments. I'm not certain that he brought the small lineup in time. But to your point of a free play tonight, let's start with a few of the things that happened that I think aren't just aberrations or things you can't ignore. Okay, first off, the Clippers took a nice lead in that game, in game one. And it was because, why? I think it was because the extra rest is typically rest or rust. I'll almost always bet on rust on a team who hasn't been to the court or played live action in an extended period of time, especially at this point in time in an NBA season. Okay? And I'm sorry, my notes right here. But
Okay.
the Clippers made 11 first half three-pointers. This year, when they made 11 or more first half three-pointers, they were 12-0. They were 12-0, making 10 or more. Okay, they made 11. Make that 12-1 after Tuesday's game, right? The Jazz were without Mike Conley, and because of hamstring, and I assume they're going to be without him tonight. I really believe they won't have him tonight unless they've already announced something and I'm wrong. But when Conley and Rudy are on the floor together, Gobert shoots 81% out of that pick and roll.
Wow.
When he's involved. 81% he shoots with Conley on the floor. Without him on the floor, Gobert shoots just over 55%. They got 18 points from Kennard. They got 11 from Zubac, who was coming off the bench because they went small, right? With Batum and with Nicholas. He played 21 minutes, and he completely disappeared, really, from the crunch time lineup. So they really don't know what their lineup is or how they're going to approach specific situations. I don't believe Lou knows. We're talking about a team who missed at one point in time, Utah, 21 straight shots in the first quarter. 21, and won the game.
That's
Were down double digits at halftime and won the game. And unlike Dallas, if the Clippers struggled with Luka, how do you succeed? And I know I'm stretching here, but how do you succeed against 4 or 5 guys who are 3/4 Luka? It's you can't just focus on one guy. In fact, if you do, he's going to find an open 3-point. And we're talking about Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell scored 45 points in that first game. Leonard, 23 points. Paul, 20 points. He outscored both of their best players together, and they had no answer from Mitchell per se. To my point is this: I'm not saying the Clippers played differently in the regular season. I think Utah's a different team right now. I think the rest that Mitchell got at the end of the season is going to be a benefit for them. If Conley's playing, then I think they're even more offensive. One of the things I looked in this total, Rob, and you can answer, actually Utah is better. They're a higher scoring team with Conley on the floor because he's not the defensive player he was 3 or 4 years ago. In fact, they go around. Conley gets juked more than he would have ever imagined or accepted a while back. But I'm not stepping in front of all those things that this was a game that was the Clippers. Game one was a game for LA to just grab a hold of and take home. Stealing game one. But if you saw their shots in the second half, guys, they were all short. They weren't technically sound jumpers. They had no legs in it, and they were fatigued. If you believe that they've recovered in what I consider a short, it's one day. I believe that this team isn't quite as confident as you would expect them to be, or I don't think that their posture says that we're going to beat this Jazz team. I don't care who you throw at us. And that small number, -3, I have to be supporting the Jazz. You can't. There's nothing other than a gut feeling or a zigzag for my next joint, whatever the case may be, that is going to convince me to be on the Clippers tonight. That's just me.
Well, I love it, Tony. I like it. Let's move on to Rob Veno and see what he's got brewing for us tonight.
Well, I sure hope Rob disagrees so he can give me some good reasons to get off that bet right now.
No, we're short on time, so I won't get into analyzing either one of those two games.
Okay.
For anybody who wants to, get the analysis on those two games, go to the Wager Talk TV NBA tip-off show where we put in a full 45 minutes on those games. I just don't have
Great idea.
time now. But what I'll give you guys real quick, and what I did give on the tip-off show was, and I ran into the prop barrel here tonight. Marcus Morris Sr. goes 1 for 9 from three-point land in that first game. And tonight his number on three-pointers made is 1.5. If you want to bet the over, you got to pay a price. But as we looked off air, which we tend to do on that NBA tip-off show, we got off air and we looked and we searched and we found you can get it at -$2, or you could get it at -180, or you could get it at -175. So my advice here is shop, get the best price. More than one outlet always works. But Marcus Morris, guys, we saw it all Dallas series. He is the open three-point shooter. We saw it in the Utah game. He is the open three-point shooter, and that baseline three is a favorite of his. 1 for 9. I won't say guarantee, but he's not going to make 1 out of 9 again, shoot 9% from three-point land. So I would think that, whatever the best price you can get, what we found at that time was -175 to be the best price, over 1.5 3-pointers by Marcus Morris. But this is a game, guys, real quick, that just one thing that Tony, to add to Tony's analysis of this game, they shot 92 3-pointers combined in that game. Utah shot 50. The Clippers shot 42. It's what they do. Quinn Snyder's post game, we're not going to change what we do. Of course, they're not going to change what they do. They want to play with pace. They want to shoot threes. And the Clippers were the best three-point percentage shooting team in the NBA this year. So they do what they do. That means Marcus Morris is going to get, barring injury. I don't want to curse the guy, but, he's going to get his opportunities to make 2 3-pointers tonight, and I think he makes them. The Clippers complained a lot about fatigue. Maybe they didn't complain, but it was done for them. The excuse was given to them that they were fatigued. So, that being what it is, I think they're not fatigued tonight. I certainly can see this guy making 2 3-pointers. So over 1.5, whatever juice you have to lay the best juice you can. Marcus Morris over 1.5 3-pointers.
I'm in.
Love it, Rob. I have player props again. And I pulled out one of my little Python apps, and this is based on previous performances and the matchups, which you can do really, really quick when you have high-powered math and a really high processor like a M1 Apple Mac. And I'm telling you, that M1 is spectacular. Way better than any Intel product right now. The M1 Apple thing is the real deal.
Okay.
So anyway, 3 player props. And it's one of my arbitrage, just like I did in a previous game. So I'm going to go under Giannis. 32.5. I'm getting plus money, plus 108. And as you probably guessed it, over Durant, 32.5, minus 106. And I'm taking a bit of a flyer, but I feel pretty good about it. This will be just, all these are pizza money, unless I say it's double pizza money. Durant, 13-1, triple-double. Milwaukee goes down 3-0.
13-1. How many triple doubles has Durant had this year?
Not as many as Ben Simmons.
Okay. Well, then guess what? Oh, I'm certainly not betting on it then.
I'll tell you what. In 2014, when the Sixers were so bad, it was the only year I had season tickets. I told you that story about the season tickets. I had the privilege of watching Kevin Durant get a triple-double in a half. In 2 quarters, he had a triple-double. But granted, he was playing against the 2014 Sixers. But still.
I think Pete Rose was on that team, wasn't he?
I think he was. And Charlie Manuel. Charlie Manuel was the center.
He had a bet. Yeah, he had a bet on Durant on that triple-double in the first half. What do you think the odds are of that?
Was he on Oklahoma City at that time? Didn't Russ have a triple-double, too, if he had one?
Oh, wow. 2 guys.
Or was he on Golden State at that time?
No, he was with OKC, both of them.
Yeah.
I'll look it up, Rob. I think Westbrook was actually hurt, but I could be wrong.
Or he was just out at a strip club somewhere having a party.
I don't know if there are any in Philly, but I guess if there are, then I guess that might be where he is.
Any in Philly, Never mind. I was going to say something. I'm not going to say it. Go on. Get it. So what is it? Is that it?
Those are the three.
Triple-double.
Yeah.
Triple-double.
Triple-double.
13 to
Right.
1 on Durant.
Under Giannis points, 32.5 plus
Right.
108. Durant over 32.5 minus 106.
Okay. All right.
I know it's a bit of a reach, but it's based on my applications previous.
Listen,
I think if you look at Durant scoring 33 or more, any team he's been on, they win.
If I can find the free egg, Durant can score 33 points tonight.
Knew I shouldn't have told that story.
He doesn't process
I like it.
the same way the M1 processor does, John. Tony
Yeah,
processes.
that's a machine
much
gun,
different.
isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean it's not ones and zeros in Tony Finn's mind.
No. An
That's
egg?
a compliment.
Goose egg? That's a goose egg. Not a free egg. That's a goose egg.
It's free range. Tell Las Vegas Chris, because he understands how I talk sometimes.
Well,
and I realize that sometimes when I talk, it's not understandable.
Well, it's because you're too smart.
but-
You're smarter than me.
No, I don't think that
MIT.
either.
You're an MIT guy. You're MIT.
That does put
well,
him out
I mean,
put him out
Las
of
Vegas.
category too.
MIT. I can't even spell MIT.
Right.
Yeah, you did. You just did.
What?
You just did.
He's rubbing off on me.
It's amazing how many
what?
people actually think MIT is a good baseball team because MIT spells mitt.
Well, I never thought that ever until you just mentioned it, but I'm going to use that. Can I use that in the future? I like
Sure.
it, but I never thought about that ever.
Have you ever seen MIT soccer field?
Hold on, let me think. Hold on.
I'm going to
I'm
encourage.
trying to wait for the punchline. I'm trying to figure out the punchline on this one.
I'm encouraging all 35 people that are listening to us right now to Google the soccer field for
I
MIT, and you'll understand why.
It's in the shape of a.
It's probably a chessboard.
Problem.
It has all the angles under the face of the sun. It even has the Fibonacci numbers.
Yeah.
Fibonacci, the Fibonacci rule. Man,
Does it
that's in my
have
book
a blackjack table though?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. That was a chemistry lab.
Fibonacci.
Suppose it was a chemistry lab that they never got a test tube out, but it was a lot of thick and
I
cards.
can't spell Fibonacci though. I need to have you spell Fibonacci for me.
It's Fibbo, like a lie. Fibbo.
No.
Fib.
Fibonacci.
Oh,
not
Fibonacci. I see.
Fibonacci.
All right, so I'll say that on the next. Steve Merrill are doing a weekly show on Bitcoin, and I try to tie it into sports betting markets, and the same bid and ask and supply and demand.
Okay.
I guarantee you, he is the fact checker. So if I say Fibonacci, he's going to correct me.
Well, you tell him that listen, they're
3-1 odds.
Yeah.
With his
Let him
money.
correct you. Oh shit! It's 3-1. That's way too long. For Merrill will correct you. Here I have a question for you. My buddy, or not my buddy, but I go to this. There's a little place, little shop, little store where you can go in and get milk and whatever you want, cigarettes, play a game of Keno, pull a slot, whatever you want to do, right? And he was telling me I walked in and he was cussing and cursing, and he needed $75 so badly that he sold his AMC stock. And it was like 2 days. 2 days later, listen to this. 2 days later, he sold his AMC stock, and 2 days later, it had gone like he said, "Man, I sold my AMC stock, and it just jumped like $70." So he was ready to jump, off this one-story building. Because he sold his AMC stock. So what happened? Is it true?
That is true. We actually did. He brought it up. It was one of the stocks we talked about.
These are just guys leveraging that because no one's going to the movies. Well, how the hell is AMC stock going up?
Well, it's called a short squeeze.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, he knows all about those, John. Don't bring those up.
It's a short squeeze.
Yeah, don't bring those up to Tony Finn.
Short squeeze, blonde squeeze, brunette squeeze. I don't, it's okay. Go ahead.
There's two words that Merrill said he would pay me $500 if I said it on this show.
Fibonacci.
With you on the show in the same minute. Yeah. One is called slippage, and the other one is called what I just said.
Short squeeze.
Short squeeze.
Well, yeah.
So short squeeze is when people are betting that a stock is going down. However, much like Musk did with Bitcoin and several other stocks, he makes statements that causes people to rush and buy, like in Robinhood.
Yeah.
And then you have these huge short positions held by hedge funds, and they have to run for cover.
Right.
So to get out of a short position, you have to join that buying frenzy, and then there's nobody left to sell. And that's what causes the spike in GameStop, now AMC.
That was I
cetera.
read some stuff on that, but I
Now
I
slippage.
Uh-huh.
I can't even believe he got me to do this.
No, but I'm
Slippage is when you have a stop loss. Say on AMC was trading at say 7, and you're betting that it's going down, but you want to, say you were short at 80 a long time ago. If a stock rallies to 20, you want to be out without having to watch it every second of the day. So you put in a stop loss order at 20.
Right.
All of a sudden, this short squeeze happens, and it takes off like a rocket. And I used to call it back in the day when we used to use hand signals in the futures fit and options. Nope. We used to call it, somebody would yell out, fast market condition. So then brokers...
That's too many words to
but
yell
then,
out.
I'm just telling you how it worked. Now, fast market conditions would mean that the broker who was holding the tickets for the clients, institutional clients in my case, you were not held to fill at their price. But as soon as that 20 was hit in the market, then it becomes a market order. Then you get in line to get out of the position at whatever price you can get at the market, which could be 25.
I see.
So that $5 then would be called slippage. But in the case of AMC, I'm willing to bet the slippage was probably people who had stopped losses in. That was the magnitude of $50 to $75 off of their price. And that's the law of the land. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not cheating. It's not nothing. It's just that's the way things work.
When he told me that he'd lost money, he sold his AMC stock, and that he'd gone to. I said, well, what's wrong with people? Because no one's going to the damn movie. But now I understand. I think.
So I think we've wrapped it up there. I think I just put a ribbon on the whole show there with slippage.
Buy AMC stock, guys. That's the bet.
And say in your opinion. Just say in your opinion, buy AMC.
In my uneducated and meager opinion, I suggest the Utah Jazz and AMC stock.
There you go.
There you go.
Beautiful.
Well, thanks for everything being on this show. As always, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll probably start at 4 because we do have a list of guests. We're going to be doing 10-minute segments with those guests to be able to fit them in and also, not have a 2-hour show. We want to try to cut it down for everybody and have it rapid fire and still have a lot of fun, which we will. So for Tony Finn and Rob Veno and myself, let's all have a big-time profitable night being smart. Bet with your head not over it, and may all the wins be yours.